Hello and welcome back to the Southern Bourbon and Whiskey Talk channel. This is Chris, and again, Happy New Year's to everyone. Hopefully everyone is staying safe out there and got to enjoy some time with their friends and family over the Christmas and New Year holiday. So today I just wanted to take some time to talk about a few things. What bourbons that I'm going to be hunting for this year. Some of the release dates are a little sketchy because it's early in the year. Some things that just some general bourbon talk and what have you. So, but before we get started, thank you to all my viewers that come out here, all the friends that have subscribed to my channel. If this is your first time or you're a returning viewer and you haven't subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. I would really appreciate it. Even smash the alert button, the bell, ring that bell. That way you get notifications and you don't miss any of the content that I put out here. And even if you could like my video and place some comments about what bourbons and whiskeys that you're looking for. Okay, so let's get started, and I want to talk about first off, Fred Minnick is a big bourbon connoisseur, whatever you want to call him. I love watching his content out there on YouTube, so a big shout out to Fred. He comes out with a list of top bourbons, whiskeys every year, and this last year, 2022, was no different. He had a list of his top 100, and some of them stood out to me that I had last year. And keep in mind, I don't have the large collection or selection that a lot of folks do. So number 63 on Fred's list was it ended up being my number 4 for the year, was the Jack Daniel's Triple Mash and everything. So, and that's a $35 bottle. So that goes to show you, even the what you call the big time connoisseurs of bourbon and whiskey, they like things in all price range. The bottom line, if something's good, it's good, and what have you. So, and also at number 53 was Elijah Craig Barrel Proof B522. I had a sample of that from someone. And then number 33 was Elijah Craig Barrel Proof A122. And I actually, with my friend Troy when we was in Alaska earlier this year, bought a bottle of A122. And to me, that was the best release of the year. And I really wish I'd have bought another bottle and brought it home with me. And then at number 18 was Elijah Craig C922. Now, I watch a lot of the reviews out there, and it seemed like C922 was a lot of people's favorites. And Troy brought me a sample of C922. They were all good this year, but I really thought A122 was the best one. It was what I like to call quintessential bourbon and everything. So those were just some things I noted off Fred Minnick's list and what have you. And speaking of that, if I had to, and I've said it before, throw some advice at newer consumers of bourbon and what have you, until you figure out what you like and you get your palate going, what your taste preferences are. I would strongly recommend that you don't make the mistake and start out buying expensive allocated bourbons. I would keep your cost. Everybody has a different budget. But to me, I would be looking to keep my cost under $60 until you get comfortable and everything, or you've tried something at a bar that you want to have, or a friend's house. You know, things aren't cheap this day. The economy's tough, but again, everybody's budget's different. But I've seen too many users out there in YouTube land and on Facebook that just thinks they gotta have the allocated bourbons and these hard to find bourbons. And I'm here to tell you that that's not the case at all. There's a lot of good bourbons, as a matter of fact, at $30 and less, $35 and less, that you could have. And just, you know, off the top of my head, things under $35 that I have that's fairly easy to find. And I'm looking at my collection right now. 1792 small batch. I love that product. I've already mentioned the Jack Daniel's Triple Mash. Maker's Mark 101. It's one of my favorite wheated bourbons out there. Let's see here. What else do I have? Sazerac Rye. Sazerac Rye might be a little harder to find for some people, but I absolutely love Sazerac Rye. So, and then, you know, coming up, and speaking of some things I want to do in the channel this year, I want to do a video or two on how to build a collection and some good solid recommendations, you know, maybe under $35, $40, between $40 and $60, so on and so forth and everything. You know, maybe, and then do something. And I've seen YouTube, different YouTube bourbon folks that have done videos. Well, if I just had $250 budget and I could go into a liquor store, what would I buy? So I may do something like that in the future, right? So I'm gonna take a drink. So what I'm sipping on today, it just missed out on my top 10 of the year. I'm drinking some Baker's 7. This was a bottle I bought on base up here in Ohio back, I want to say September, October. It's aged 8 years and 3 months. So, and Baker's is a Jim Beam product. It's a really good product. It just missed out on my top 10. And it's a price point on it. I paid $55 for it. So, you know, for the proof and the age, I mean, it's a pretty decent value and everything. Would I just go out intentionally trying to buy this bottle and hunt it? Probably not, no. But if I see it again and can get it for, you know, $50, I'll get another bottle. So, yep, definitely get some alcohol. There's some like floral, some herbal on there, some white pepper, some like light caramel. So all right, I've reviewed this for good solid Kentucky Hug. The finish is kind of medium. Mouth coating is good. It's not quite as sweet as you would, you know, I would have expected. So I definitely get, you know, a lot of Jim Beam product like this one, like Booker's, Knob Creek. They have a little peanut taste, and I definitely get that peanut taste, a little that earthiness kind of on it. If you know anything about peanuts being grown, which I used to pick some peanuts, dig peanuts, they're grown in the ground, so it kind of reminds me of that. But it's a good solid product. Again, I wouldn't go hunting it and everything on purpose. So, but I definitely plan on doing some of those videos. bourbons under, $40, $35, between 40, 60, and then, if you had a budget of $250, what would you do with, what would I do with it? So, all right. So, last thing I want to talk about is bourbons that I'm hunting for out there. A lot of these I don't have specific release dates on, maybe some estimates. There's websites that you can go to out there. You can Google like 2023 bourbon releases, bourbon calendar, something to that effect, and get what you're looking for. So some on my list, and I'm looking at some notes here that I have. Bardstown Bourbon Company, has they're going to release strictly their own distillate starting this year. And I discovered that when me and my wife Angela was at Bardstown Bourbon Company over Labor Day weekend, and they're going to call it the Origin Series. So I'm very interested in getting a bottle of that Origin Series. And they have two that I made note of that I'd like to have. And one of them's a rye product. And I actually got to try some of that rye product in September that they're going to release in the Origin Series. It's a 95.5 rye. So 95% rye, 5% malted barley. But I'm going to tell you, it was sweet. It shocked me when he told me it was a 95% rye, our tour guide there. And then they're going to release a Origin Series that's wheated, and I'd be interested in that one too. And the best I can tell, and what I'm thinking is the price point on these is going to be somewhere between $45 and $60. So those are the ones I'm looking for this year. From Bardstown Bourbon, and they're going to continue to release too the Discovery Series and some other collaborations that come up and what have you. So if I see something that piques my interest there, I may very well do that. I'm thinking these Origin Series should start in January, February time frame, popping up in liquor stores across the country. I think they want to get a wider distribution, especially with that Origin Series. So it's just a kind of a hunch that I have. You can also go to the distillery in Bardstown and find a lot of product there. The Discovery Series, their fusions from the past releases. And some other specials that they have. So, and then some other ones I'm looking for is Booker's. Now, Booker's does 4 releases a year. They have like a 2023-01, 2023-02, so on and so forth. And they give a little name to them. Like last year, I think they had one that was called the Lumberyard. And they're basically uncut, unfiltered bourbons that I believe are usually aged around 6 years. I'd like to get my hand on at least one of those Bookers this year if I could. So that's just kind of a goal. And then another one is the Woodford, the Masters Collection or the Distillers Collection. So they have one of them, and I confuse these sometimes. One of them is comes in at 90.4 proof, which is the standard proof point for a Woodford product. And then one of them is actually a barrel proof, higher proof product that's usually around 117 proof and higher. So I would like to have one of those Makers or the Woodford special releases and everything. So, and then of course, I'd like to get my hands on the Elijah Craig barrel proof releases, the AB and/or C release this year in 2023. That would be nice. But here in Ohio, they tend to be a little difficult to find. I can't remember seeing them in the stores here, and it's a state-run liquor here in Ohio. I don't even remember seeing these online anywhere. So, but if y'all have any intel different and you live in the state of Ohio, please drop it in the comments. I'd like to hear from you. And then another product I'm looking for, it's a Lux Row product, the Blood Oath. It should be pack number 9 this year, and in the past they've gotten released in April. I did hear a rumor, I don't know how true it is, there's not going to be a Blood Oath release this year, but I kind of find that hard to believe. So, but I haven't seen any intel or news about what this pack 9 might be about, kind of the finishing on it, or the blending, what it's comprised of. But I would like to get my hands on the 2023 version of Blood Oath. And then the Midwinter's Night Dram, that would be one that I would like to have as well. You know, the 2022 Act 10 this year was my #1 whiskey of the year. It came in at 98.6 proof. It's a high rye blend. They have 2 different ryes this year that they blended, and they finished them in wine barrels. So I really love that product, and it was my #1 of the year. It's the first bottle I've ever had, and I'd like to get another one of the 2023. It'll probably be Act 11, I have to assume, right? So, and then, you know, the last one that I would like to have that comes to my mind, I didn't write this down on my notes, is the 4 Roses limited edition when that comes out. So they've been coming out with once a year releases, and I'd like to have those. Very hard to find, so that might be kind of a pie in the sky hope, but I'd like to have that. And then Old Forester, you know, Old Forester has a lot of limited releases that come out. Birthday Bourbon's one, and they started doing a lottery last year, and I think that worked out well, where you register online versus people just crowding downtown Louisville, waiting in line and hoping they get one of the bottles there. So if they do that again this year, which I hope they do, I'll be entering that lottery, and hopefully I'm one of the lucky ones, as well as some of you guys and gals out there. So they also have President's Edition. They have you know, single barrel rye. I'd like to get some of my hands on some of that as well and everything. So, but if not, just understand, I'm a big believer in this, that allocated bourbon is not always the best. You know, there's a lot of other good stuff out there that can beat it anytime. You know, and I'll give you a good example, is a lot of people, that Midwinter's Night Dram, you know, I paid $135. My friend Troy got it for me, and I'm really pleased to have it. But a lot of people compare Midwinter's Night Dram. I think Sagamore Spirits, they're pretty much, I think, a strictly rye distiller, and they have a sherry finished product that's like, I want to say $79, $80, and so it's about $50 less expensive than the Midwinter's Night Dram, and they say it's just as good, if not better. So I wouldn't mind giving that a try and blind testing it against the dram and seeing what that's about, right? So, and then last but not least, these aren't allocated products so much to say, but they're hard to find. Is I like to get down to Buffalo Trace Distillery and find an Elijah Craig, not Elijah Craig, but E.H. Taylor small batch and a Blanton's down there. So they have a website, and you can go out there and look for it, and I'll put it in my comments. It's buffalotracedaily.com, and it's a predictor of what's going to be in the gift shop that next day. And it's fairly accurate. I've kind of watched it, monitored it, and everything, and we're about 2.5 hours from Frankfort, from where Buffalo Trace is located. So, you know, once or twice this year, I'd like to get down there and see if I can get lucky and get a E.H. Taylor and or a Blanton's and everything. So that would be a good goal to have. I've only had samples of both of those, but I wouldn't mind having the bottles. So. But other than that, that's kind of what's on my 2023 wish list. And I keep an eye on the websites, and I'll post updates on releases when I see them to share them. And kind of my method to my madness of how I do it, I look at those calendars out there. They're on the internet. You can Google them, the release dates and stuff. Sign up for the distillery's newsletters or their announcements like Old Forester. Just go directly to their website, Four Roses, Buffalo Trace, so on and so forth, Peerless. Go out there, just sign up, and you'll get email updates and stuff, and they even send emails often when they're going to release a product and what have you. Lotteries, I plan on entering lotteries when I see them. I know the state of Ohio usually has 2 or 3 a year, I believe, and they're registered online. I haven't gotten lucky enough to win one of those as yet, but I'd like to do that. And I know, like I said, Old Forester has a lottery release online for the birthday bourbon in September, and I wish the other distillers would do that too, to be honest with you. It would save a lot of mass chaos that's out there. You know, like for example, Four Roses limited edition, when they release that, I've heard it's a madhouse at the distillery. So you know, if they would follow suit and do that lottery system, that would be wonderful. But that's just my opinion, you know, and everything. But like I said, monitoring the websites, the calendars, sign up for newsletters and alerts through the distilleries. That's always a great idea, and what have you. If you live within a close drive of the distilleries in Kentucky and Tennessee, you know, go by there, pay a visit this year. You know, just go down there and go gift shop hunting. Or actually schedule some tours, and actually, if you've never done that, there's some really good ones. Take part of it. And Old Forester's one. I hear rumors that if you take the tours, that they offer up one of their limited edition bottles, a chance to buy it for the people that buy the tours there. So I'm not saying that's every day, but I've heard maybe once, twice a month or something like that, that's something that happens and everything. But other than that, that's kind of the method to my madness. I keep an eye periodically on the state of Ohio, ohlq.com, and see what kind of news is out there and what have you, and some of the local stores, what they have in inventory. So that's my madness and what I do, so, and everything. So. Well, all right, so that's all I have this video. Just wanted to share some of the 2023 stuff that looks like it's coming out that I'd like to get. Now, of course, I'm always going to be looking for those good products that are just common products out there on the shelves. The Old Forester 1920s, the Maker's Mark 101, you know, Jack Daniel's Triple Mash, those kind of things. So, you know, I'm not a bourbon snob. I look for good bourbon. Good bourbon's good bourbon, and good whiskey's good whiskey. That's the bottom line with that. So, So we talked about that. We talked about some of Fred Minnick's top 100s of 2022, and just some good old generic tips and everything. So, and things I plan on to do in the channel this year. So, and maybe even, you know, being a newer YouTube channel, I've learned a lot and everything. You know, I want to, you know, kind of make my channel and my videos just maybe a little more professional. I'm not going to go crazy with graphics or anything like that. I see a lot of YouTube channels that just seem to be full of graphics, and I'm not knocking these folks again, but they seem to only be into hard to find allocated bourbons. You know, I don't know who it was, but I was watching one of their top 10s of the year, and every darn thing on it was allocated. And you know, the common person out there, even me, can't get this stuff and what have you. So yeah, I kind of ignore that a lot, but there's a lot of good channels out there to watch if you haven't. You know, Kurt at SLB Drinks does really good. Not a lot of graphics. You know, his son is now on the channel with him and behind the bar, and they do allocated stuff, but you know, Kurt's just he's a good old guy from Indiana, and he's a whiskey bourbon connoisseur. So and I think that's awesome, and he's very honest and upfront. And then the Bourbon Judge, he's out, I believe, New Jersey, Maryland area. Him and Kurt at SLB were some of my inspirations for wanting to start this channel. The Bourbon Judge does a lot of really good reviews, all kind of bourbons, whiskeys, and everything. And then there's Steve, Bourbon Steve. I want to give a shout out to Bourbon Steve down in Knoxville, Tennessee. On the Bourbon Quest channel. So look up Bourbon Quest and go check him out and everything. I like Bourbon Steve. You know, he's a good old country boy, and he does good reviews and everything. He's a no-nonsense guy and what have you. Can be a little rough around the edges, but you know, what you see is what you get. So Bourbon Steve, keep doing what you're doing, my friend. I really enjoy your content and what have you. So, and I'll close with any of the viewers out there, if there's anything you'd like me to review, and you might have some of the product, and reach out to me, and I wouldn't mind you sending me a sample, and I'll definitely put it on the channel and everything, get a review out there of it and what have you. So, but other than that, again, thank you very much. 2022 was a good year. 2023 is going to be even a better year. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. I'd appreciate it and everything. So until next time, thank you very much, and Happy New Year's to everyone.